Quick question before we start. Have you ever had a student or a parent ask you to teach improvisation and you felt your stomach drop a little bit because somewhere in the back of your mind you're thinking, nobody ever taught me how to do this? If that's you, you are in very good company. And today we're going to help you.
Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Gillian.
And I'm Paul. Today's episode is all about teaching improvisation and specifically how to get a complete beginner creating music from their very first lesson. No theory degree required, no training, just a backing track and a few good ideas. And we've got a complimentary download of the teacher accompaniment activity. And if you're a studio member, we have a link to the beautiful backing track and teacher guide. And check the show notes. And while you're there, press subscribe so the platform knows to share this with other piano teachers from around the world.
Well, we've all got a video to show you a little bit later where Paul takes his adult student through this exact approach. And that is just amazing because adult students, they feel so kind of like shy. And I think this is a way of really giving them some agency over their music and they don't feel so, oh, I should have been doing this when I was 6. Or, like they want to do this as a long held dream, but I think they feel quite cool when they can do this activity.
This was a first lesson activity as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, Paul, you've actually done a little bit of research about whether this is a good idea for beginners or not, or what teachers are really wanting help with. Can you talk about that?
So I've just finished my master's thesis and I surveyed a couple of hundred piano teachers and interviewed 20 of them. And there were two findings that really stood out in relation to improvisation. The first is that around 3/4 of the teachers I surveyed said they had never or almost never improvised when they were learning piano themselves. Now, I don't know about you, Gillian. Did you improvise very much when you were a kid?
No. The only thing I did that was a bit more not like a sight, because you had to play the dots and you didn't play anything up the dots, right? Was when playing pop songs and I started to sort of have to make up my own accompaniments. But yeah, it's not really improvising, but it was just moving away from the dots. But not improvising. I thought that was really for cool jazz dudes.
Exactly. Well, I never did until, especially when I was playing French horn it was my first instrument as a child. I got into so much trouble when I did that I never did it again.
Yeah, as that was the case, like when we were all young, wasn't it? Really, we were kind of like, don't do that. Yeah, if you strayed, you never did again.
That's right. And most teachers grew up reading first, and it was sort of notation always and classical repertoire. I bet you didn't play much of that pop music with your teacher. I bet you were learning it by yourself.
Yeah, it depended. Not the first teacher, but my second teacher. Yeah, when I was heading into, she did do that. So I think that probably is what kept me going, really.
That was lucky, yeah. So the second part of that thesis was that I asked teachers what they wanted help with, and improvisation came out on top. It was higher than everything else. More than 9 out of 10 teachers wanted support in teaching improvisation.
I think the hardest thing with this is getting started. I was just speaking to Mark Matthews, who is going to be our studio guest in July at Masterclass, because he does a fabulous way of getting started with blues and that kind of thing. And he's going to be teaching at our studio. He's our guest and teaching our studio members in July. But I think it's getting started. I think that's like, ooh, where do I get started? I don't really feel very comfortable at this myself. And sometimes it's better not to do it, but I know I should be doing it.
Well, I think a lot of us often suffer from is imposter syndrome. And, what if it falls flat, or even worse, you don't know what to do next. So it's, often challenging, and it's not a gap in you. It's a gap in how.
And I still think some teachers still file improvisation under advanced. I don't have to bother about this until they're advanced. And then when they are advanced, you think, oh, how am I going to get there? Because this is all of these little steps that they probably need to do. And then I've got to take them back to kind of babyhood and they're not going to like it. And then it all just becomes too hard. And I think here's the thing, we heard this from Elisa Milne recently in the last podcast about her encouragement to just take tiny fragments of her pieces as a little nuggets and use those just to play. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to think of Fats Waller right here. We're just starting to move away from the dots, starting to see what happens when we explore fragments. And I think that's a good lesson to remember.
Especially for young beginners, creating and exploring is how musical understanding develops in the first place. And, there's actually some lovely research from Kosopoudou and Hargraves. I think Kosopoudou must be Greek, showing that improvisation activities actually improved creative thinking in 6-year-olds. That's got to be a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
Well, this links back into what the previous podcast with Dr. Anita Collins was about executive function. Executive function in learning a musical instrument is not gained by reading dots on the thing and sitting there going and typing away at the piano. Executive function is about making choices, making right choices, and changing when you need to change, and making those good choices along the way. And that's it. Improvisation gives that on steroids, doesn't it?
absolutely. When little kids are thinking about what they're doing and they're making a real choice, and they're not copying symbols off a page. So it's a great opportunity for them to, as you said, have some agency about what they're doing. So I'm hoping the video that we're about to show helps teachers today.
Okay. Well, I want to just sort of talk about what I'd like you to watch for, because there's just so much pedagogy hiding inside what it looks like a very simple activity. So Paul is working with an adult student, as we said before. This is his first ever lesson. Notice Paul hasn't put any sheet music up in front of him. So he's not having to bother about that. He doesn't have to worry about all that up there and me playing down here, and too many things for beginners. For anyone learning anything, is not a great idea.
And he's on a grand piano, so the music's up here. His fingers are down.
Exactly. It's so hard. And there's no kind of right. If he makes a little mistake, I think it just keeps on going, and we don't talk about it. We just keep on going. And then just see how simple this activity is rolled out. Paul just starts the backing track. He plays a pattern, and it's just a question. Well, it's not really a question answer. It's just copy me, copy me, copy. It's a copy me game.
Exactly. And, just watch the hands. We're laying off the thumb, so we don't have to worry about the thumb. We're just using those 4 fingers. So it's nice and easy. And it keeps the hands nice and relaxed, and it stops that beginner habit of scrunching up and getting carried away or worried about what they're doing, because it doesn't matter if they make a mistake. And you'll hear like him going, "Oh, I made a mistake." Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
And the thing that's carrying the whole activity, of course, is the backing track. And Paul, this is the same magic that we talked about in the last episode with Amachia. If you've got a track that's carrying the activity along, all you have to do is teach. You don't have to worry about trying to keep the rhythm and keep the beat and all the rest of it and keep the energy up. You can just focus on the student, what you're doing, and the interaction and the connection with the student. So I think that's why we love tracks so much.
Exactly. They're just keeping that static beat. You never have to tell them to count. They're feeling it in their body instead of working out in their head. So it's so much more of a useful skill long term.
I actually think this is a fabulous first activity, particularly for an adult. So let's roll the video. That's really good. You can see from this very little copying game, simple copying game, what the students actually learning.
Mm.
And it's more than you'd guess, really, right?
Absolutely, yes. Well, they're listening, aren't they? And watching, so they're very cognizant of the shape and what fingers they're playing. I think a bit later he was doing a couple of different fingers, but
Yeah.
it didn't really matter because there was just one activity, and we'd go back and then do it again. But it will be different every single time we do it, so it's always interesting and novel for him as well.
Mm. And I think keeping in time. And also, he's playing quite a sophisticated and complicated rhythms. And as adults, particularly, they will have heard these rhythms. They will probably even have danced these rhythms. So it's not hard necessarily for them to play. It would be hard for them to play the rhythm if they was having to face with a piece of shit music with this complicated thing and saying, oh, that's what 3/4 and 1/4, but you're not allowed to play 3/4 and 1/4. You actually had to play 2/3 and 1/3. It's like, oh, that's just information overload, particularly on the first class. No, we don't have to complicate it. We can just do this.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong as well, and if you make play a wrong note, just laugh about it. It doesn't matter, and I think that sort of reduces the pressure for people as well. So I know so many adults who they're so worried about.
Yeah, yeah, and I think they're building confidence. That he's building confidence with playing. You're only giving him one bar, really.
Mm,
So he's only has to remember that one bar, but
mm,
he is remembering the one bar, and he's thinking,
mm,
"Oh, I can do this."
mm. Exactly, and, we could extend that out to, um, after he can then give me a bar and I'll copy him, and then we can start doing question and answer, and then I do the question, he does the answer, then we're vice versa. There are so many options there to develop those skills. Well, I just started with 4 notes, but you could then extend to a few more notes as well. So it
Mhm.
was really, really easy to do. Yes, yes, and it sounds cool, doesn't it?
Just a little tip for teachers who are going to try this activity. Please don't move to the student giving you the phrase too soon, because what you really need to do is give them a vocabulary of phrases, and that they've got to get used to that vocabulary of phrases before it can come out. So don't think you can do this in one lesson and then get them to do it. To you,
Mm.
it seems easy because you've had this vocabulary, that's taken a lifetime to learn, right? But for them, it's not. So do it for a few weeks, quite a few weeks, and making it longer and making it longer and longer, and then you can say, well, you could go back to one bar and then get them giving you one bar.
Yes,
You just
exactly. So
don't
that
move
was just
too quick.
one little snippet. It can go for a lot longer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we have all of the stages for our members. It's all in this activity, which we're got a link to in the show notes because you listen to this podcast. And if you're at home and you like this activity and you'd like to do more of these sorts of activities, you can join the studio over at Piano Teaching Success. Or what we do have for you is a free download, and it's just got that a very simple accompaniment that you can play and have your student um, playing along and improvising back with you. Or you might be able to record yourself doing it. Particularly if you've got one of those fancy keyboards where you can actually record it,
Mm.
then you can play and then you can focus on doing the other. So yeah.
Exactly. So before we go, please remember to subscribe. It really does help the platform get this kind of content in front of other teachers looking for practical ideas. And if you haven't already done so, join our newsletter at Piano Teaching Success. So you get every new episode and the free resources come straight to your inbox.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Have a wonderful time with your students, and let us know how you go. Send us a quick I did this and this is what happened.
Yeah, please do. We love hearing about them. Bye bye, everyone.
Anytime, we'll see you next episode. Bye.